noise. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Suddenly there's some noise. Sentence meaning. So it would be
Doctor. I think the sentence is at the lecture 2 notes.
we have done.
Yeah. I think so.
Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, pragmatics. When we offer an apology, greeting, request, put in a complaint, we invite invitation, we do invitation, we compliment someone, or we refuse something. So a speech act is an utterance that serves a function in communication. So whenever we talk, it is considered that we are doing an act, a speech act. So when we talk and we use language, we are using a speech act, and it has its function in communication. So a speech act might contain just one word, as in sorry, to perform an apology, or several words like sorry, I forgot your birthday, I just let it slip my mind. So it could be one word. It includes a real life interaction, knowledge of the language, what to say and how to say it, but also appropriate use of that language within a given culture. I don't know why it's so noisy downstairs, but let me move a bit. So these are some examples of speech acts that we use or we hear people use. We do greetings, requests, complain. And these are very important functions that the language has for us, because it conveys the meaning that we want to convey. And secondly, it is for a certain purpose. And with its social function. So when we meet someone, it's imperative that we greet them. And we want something, we request. We're not happy with something, we complain. We want to we invite someone over for dinner to either to foster a deeper relationship or to socialize. We compliment people. So these are the things that we do with language. So in order to communicate, we not only use grammar and pronunciation as we speak, we also learn to use, we learn to put in the language and how these uses are signaled. So a speech act is an utterance that serves a function. It includes real life interaction and basically what I said just now, knowledge and also appropriate use of that language, that function of language in a given culture. Okay, example of this, we've seen this in the previous slide. Speech acts are difficult to perform in a second language context because learners of language may not know the idiomatic expression or cultural norms in the second language, or they might transfer their first language rules and expression and cultural norms into the second. Is some difference. So example here, Sarah is an English person. So she says, I couldn't agree with you more. So in English, it is quite normal to negate. You have the negation of could not, and then you have more. So I couldn't agree with you more. So the negation and the adverbial achieves certain effect that only people in this culture who are used to it will be able to understand. But when Sarah says this to her classmate, Cheng seems to be thinking, not quite understanding what Sarah means. Thinking she couldn't agree with me. I thought she liked my idea. Cheng would focus on couldn't. Yeah. So then he couldn't understand, or she couldn't understand why Sarah couldn't agree with me. But actually, failing to notice that more negates the couldn't. So a puzzled Cheng is thinking, she couldn't agree with me. I thought she liked my idea. Yeah? But actually, the adverbial more is actually cancelling out the negation by couldn't. So these are cultural things that a learner of the language needs to learn when he's learning the language of that culture. There are categories of speech acts. Representatives, representatives commit the speaker to the truth of the expressed proposition. For example, you're asserting something or you're concluding something. Because when you are asserting or concluding, you are actually believe in what you're saying. Okay, directives. Directives are attempts by the speaker to get the addressee to do something. For example, requesting, questioning. So you say something and you expect the other party who's listening to do you say something, and that that utterance or the speech act, which is actually imperative, kan? Kalau directive is an imperative, then you are actually carrying out the speech act of requesting or questioning. So yeah, so you are so this will actually cause a reaction on the part of the hearer. So when you're requesting, then the hearer will actually that you want, or do something that you want her to do. Questioning means directives in terms of questioning. Then the hearer will actually understand that you're expecting an answer. Okay, commissives. Commissives commit the speaker to some future course of action. So commissives, when you are doing commissives, you are promising something, that you will do something in the future. You are threatening. If you do this, I will tell the warden, let's say. So you're threatening, but it hasn't happened yet, right? So you're saying, if you go on to do this, I will report you. Yeah, so you're threatening. Or you're offering. If you do this, if you help me now, I will help you next week, let's say. So, so at the point of uttering to the future course of action. Okay, then expressives. Expressives express a psychological state. For example, apologizing, welcoming, congratulating. So it expresses the state of mind. Declaratives. Declaratives which effect immediate changes in the institutional state of affairs, and which tend to rely on elaborate extra-linguistic institution. For example, excommunicating. Declaratives effect immediate changes, and it rely on elaborate extra-linguistic institution. For example, excommunicating. Excommunicating, I'm not sure about this. Is it like christening? When you're christening someone, when you are, I'm not sure, I have to check on this. Declaring war, I thereby declare war. Christening, that means excommunicating. Excommunicating, I'm not sure. But christening is another one, where a child is being christened. Christening is an event which signifies that the child is being welcomed in the community. Marrying. So marrying the Pak Kadi, the religious Pak Kadi, or the priest or the preacher will actually say, I hereby unite you, woman and husband and wife, or aku nikahkan engkau dengan so and so, dengan mas kahwin. Yeah? And then firing from employment. It's also like I think I have to inform you that you are fired from the job. So you are but very formal situation. In speech acts, there are three things that we distinguish. Number one is locutionary acts. So there are three things: locutionary, elocutionary, and perlocutionary. So the locutionary is the act of making a linguistic utterance as a linguistic utterance, the act of speaking, or the act of uttering a grammatical sentence. So basically, locutionary is just saying something, producing something, producing some sentence, some utterance. So that is in itself a locutionary act. Elocutionary acts, I-L-L, elocutionary acts, they are the acts we perform in saying something. Like locutionary just now is just saying something, and then elocutionary acts which is in saying X I was doing Y. So in saying this I was promising, in saying this I was betting, in saying this I was naming. So kalau promising, I say I promise that I will clean my room next week, let's say. So in saying this, I'm actually saying something, but I'm also giving a promise. So elocutionary looks at it into perspective in a way. One is the act of saying, so they encompass. It encompasses the act of saying plus the things that we are doing with the saying, which is the acts. So promising, betting, naming. Okay. So the function lah, I would say, the function is perlocutionary. So perlocutionary act is persuading someone to do something, or upsetting someone, or frightening someone, or pleasing someone. Usually when we say something, the addressee will listen to what we say, and that will cause him or her to go on and do something else. So this is the perlocutionary, is the effect of the sentence or the utterance to the addressee and making the addressee either feeling something or doing something, right? So when you're persuading someone, you say, come join me to the movies. You say, if you're persuading someone, come join me to the movies. I heard the reviews are quite good. So when your friend hear this, so the effect of you saying something results in the person eventually doing something else. Okay, so it's the effect of your words to someone. So when you say, for example, upsetting someone, when you say something horrible to someone, you will upset the person that you are talking to, and the reaction of that is either the person becomes angry or the person becomes sad. The person gets angry or the person cries. So the effect of the words on the hearer. So by saying X, I did Y. So by saying this, I did something, and it causes I think maybe, can I change this? Oh, like that, huh? How's it thumbnail? I want to say that, why do I get this?
Doctor, you can pull down the line underneath, above the notes. Yeah, that one you can pull it down so that the slide will become bigger.
Okay. So I'm going to add, by saying X, I did Y. And cause the addressee to feel or do something. What we say, which is locutionary, with at the same time, what is the function of what you're saying, that is elocutionary. And then the third one is someone else hearing your speech act will feel something or will do something. Okay. Let's see. So let's say elocutionary. Time it is. So this is what am I doing? I'm requesting for time lah. Requesting for time. So requesting lah. Requesting time. Requesting. So my direct elocutionary act is request. So say therefore. Hello. This is basically greeting. What a beautiful day. I am commenting. Like threatening or demanding. And then stop. This is a directive. Okay. So ini lagi slide mode lah. Oh, kena ulang balik Invent a context and identify per locutionary. Invent a context, that means think of something, of a context that you will say of what you're saying will do to the person that you're saying this to, your addressee lah. So we can do the first one. So we can do So we say our flight is closing in 5 minutes. I'm saying this to my my child. Let's say we're at the airport and we are late. So this is the context. So invent a context means we're at the airport and we are late, and then I say this. So when I say this, if you think about it, what is the function of what is my locution? Can be usually a reminder, the elocutionary as a reminder that we are late and the gate is closing in 5 minutes. We can hear the announcement. So we are running. So what I'm telling my addressee is to walk quickly or to run because our gate is closing. Okay. So of course the person hearing this will immediately understand and will be faster, walking faster or even run with me. Okay. So this is what we're going to do. So for example, what are you doing in here at this hour? So you have to come up with a context. Must be thinking about the place and the time. So you're talking about at this hour is usually either very late at night or very early in the morning, something not usual. At a very uncommon time. Okay. So then you say something, you say this. So what do you think the perlocutionary act will be? Okay, so let's say I saw someone on campus at 5 o'clock in the morning, let's say, at the lecture hall, not at the dorm. So say, what are you doing in here at this hour? I'm actually, in that sense, if I'm talking to someone, I'm actually curious to know. And it can also be, I'm reprimanding a student, let's say. Yeah, I'm curious to know if that person is an adult and I don't know the guy, or I know the person. Still, the hour is very uncommon. So I would say, what are you doing in here at this hour? So then the person in turn has to explain to me why, the reason. What is the reaction of that person, of the addressee, listening to me? I would say he would be alarmed that I saw him there, and he has to explain. Doing work very early in the morning, and your dad wakes up. He walks into the study and you're there in the study where you do your work. And then he'll ask, what are you doing in here at this hour? You haven't slept? Watch it again. So basically he is actually reminding you that it's already 5 very early in the morning, and are you still up from last night doing work? So it's actually so then you say, I'm finishing up, I'll rest after this. So that is the reaction. Okay, so you can imagine that, please turn off your mobile phones. You can actually imagine that you're in the lecture room. So the perlocutionary act is you immediately take out your phone and turn it off or put it on silent. It's time for everything that they are playing, or keep away all the toys that they're playing, and then start preparing for bed, brushing the teeth, wash the legs and all that. Have you brought your malaria tablets? This is if I come up with a situation like my husband travels, let's say. This is very foreign lah. Katakan a foreign person, he's traveling, so he's coming to Malaysia, and Southeast Asia region, we are very well known for malaria. So the wife will ask him, "Have you brought your malaria tablets?" Because if he's coming to a region where malaria is very prominent, then the wife is actually reminding him so that he doesn't forget his malaria tablets. And then if of course the person has packed it all in, then he then says, or alternatively he can say, I almost forgot. Then he goes to the bathroom or to the kitchen, a cabinet, and get his tablets. So it depends on all these answers are actually depending on the context. So in a final exam, for example, you would actually give the context, and then you can justify your perlocutionary act. Okay, so it can be different answers depending on the context and depending on who's speaking to whom, who's the speaker and who's the addressee. So in our everyday lives, we do this. So we either do a direct or indirect. So the direct act is actually the form of the utterance. Let's say, would you mind passing me the salt? That is the direct act. And then the indirect act is actually what it means. Yeah. So it means request. It means request. Yeah. It doesn't mean. Sometimes you say, "Could you pass me the salt?" Yeah. Could you pass me the salt? It is a question and it is a request. Yeah. It doesn't mean, are you able to pass me the salt? Unless you're saying that the salt is a bit further away, and then can you reach out and pass me the salt? Also you can justify your answer lah. Number 2, why don't you finish your drink and leave? This is also a question and this is also a request. I must ask you to leave my house. So in terms of the form of the sentence, it is a statement. You're ordering the person to leave the house, or you're requesting the person to leave the house. And then number 4, leave me and I'll jump from the apartment building. So in the form of the statement, it is an order and a statement. Order is leave me, and then I'll jump from the apartment building is a statement. But the indirect act, the meaning, the indirect act is actually threatening. Leave me and I'll jump from the apartment building. So as social beings, when people say this to us, because we have been brought up in a culture where we are taught to request, we are taught to, we know how to order, and we are able to give out threats. So when someone says this to us, we understand the direct and the indirect. But for learners of second language, they might get the direct act, but they might also get the indirect, but some, depending on their proficiency, they might not get the indirect act. Okay. In cases where two speech acts are available to the hearer, the literal act is backgrounded or secondary, while the non-literal act is primary. I see. So so when you say, can you pass the salt? So this is a question. So this is the literal. So this will be backgrounded. This will be not the prominent message. The question is not the prominent message, but please pass me the salt. The request is the primary. The non-literal act is primary. Proficient, quite proficient in the language. We understand the meaning. I wish you wouldn't do that. So this is a very polite way of saying that. I wish you wouldn't do that. And this is a statement. But actually, the more literal meaning is please don't do that. Because sometimes when you directly say that, it comes across very harsh. So you want to make it softer. You give the indirect one, but actually you're saying the literal one is the literal one is being backgrounded, and then the non-literal is being focused. Aren't you going to eat your cereal? So this is a question, but actually what the mother is saying is that please eat your cereal. So so the A sentences are requests, but in the B sentences, none are in the form of imperatives. Instead, they are declaratives. I see. So as you can see that 8, 9, 10, they are all questions, but they are questions that do requests. And then the B sentences are declaratives, doing the speech act actually.
Doctor?
Yeah.
I have a question for the question 9.
Yeah.
So for the 9A, is the 9A is interrogative, right? Because both 9A and 9B are declarative.
Did you say interrogative?
Yeah, yes. For the 9A.
The interrogative is a question. I don't think 9A is a question. 9A is a statement. 9 is a statement. Or also 9B is a statement. How is it that you see it as a question?
No. This I thought that 9A will be interrogative. I thought that for all of the A should be interrogative. I thought that.
Only 8, only 8 and 10 is interrogative.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I wish you wouldn't. This is a declarative.
Alright. Thank you, Doctor.
So can we take a minute to do this? Identify direct and indirect act. Okay, so who wants to do an A?
Can I try?
Okay. Who you are?
Aisha Malin.
Aisyah Amalin. Okay.
So question A, I would like to book a table for tomorrow night. So for me the direct act is a statement, and for the indirect act is requesting or order.
Requesting or booking? Booking. Doing a reservation. All right. Okay.
Right, thank you, Doctor.
Next. Let's see. Thanks, Aisa. Okay, second one. B. Who wants to do? Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, Doctor.
You
I'll
are?
try B. Abigail.
Oh, Abigail. It sounds like mom. Okay.
Okay. So why not think about Spain for this summer? So the direct act is question and the indirect is requesting.
You sure it's requesting?
I feel like it's requesting because like it's asking to think of that place.
Could it be the
What?
advice, Doctor?
Advice. But actually, what is most suitable for this situation? So the travel agent, what's the function of travel agent? The customer is always what? Requesting, not very lah, Abigail. Not very just not very correct or appropriate.
Okay.
Doctor,
Mm.
is it suggesting? Is it suggesting?
Suggesting. Suggesting. Can.
Persuading, Doctor? How about persuading?
Not yet. Persuading nanti dia akan cakap, oh, because Spain is beautiful, is blah blah blah. Yang ini more suggesting lah. Tapi suggesting to this customer lah. So it's suggesting, suggestion for customer to buy or consider. Suggesting is bad. Or promoting, promoting maybe.
Oh.
Same lah, suggesting or promoting for the customer to think about or think about. Okay, so it has to be very specific to the situation and who the speaker and who the hearer is. Okay, C. Thanks, Abigail. Who wants to do C?
Can I try, Doctor?
Okay. You are?
Atikah, Bahrain.
Atika.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I'll have the usual. The direct act is the statement and indirect act is the request.
What does it mean? I'll have the usual.
Maksudnya macam dia nak order benda yang sama. Macam selama ni yang dia order.
Maknanya dia seorang pelanggan
Yang tetap.
yang tetap kat situ lah. Dia selalu datang. Dia selalu datang dan waitress tu dah tahu dia selalu order apa. So I'll have the usual means yang samalah yang selalu saya order sebelum ni kan. Alright. Okay. D. D siapa nak buat? Volunteers, D. Alia. Alia ada?
Yes, doctor.
Okay.
Okay.
D.
Actually, for D, I'm still confused. Is it statement or question? Because for the answer, I bet you are hungry. So the answer maybe will be yes or no. So I don't know, is it statement or question?
From the form of the sentence, it's a statement lah.
Yes.
But what is the mother doing with that statement?
Is it uh, prediction?
The guessing. The mother is guessing. So dia macam teka lah. Jadi kalau anak dia balik dari sekolah, jadi kemungkinan dia kalau sekolah pagi dia balik tengah hari. Kalau sekolah petang dia balik pukul 6 macam tu. So by the time dia balik mesti dia dah lapar untuk makan tengah hari atau lapar untuk makan something tea ke or something. The mother is by giving a statement, the mother is to me she's guessing lah. Dia meneka. Dia buat satu ramalan lah macam you cakap tadi ramalan dia buat satu tekaan. Dan selalunya tekaan tu betul lah sebab after a day at school, the kids are always hungry. So I bet you're hungry. So the direct is a statement, the indirect is to predict, to guess to guess, to predict or to guess lah. Alright. E. Who wants to do E?
Hello, doctor.
Hi.
So I would like to do E. I'm Husna.
Husna.
So E, we regret that we are unable to accede to your request. The direct act is statement, and the indirect act is rejection.
Rejection, yeah. Rejection, yeah. So unable to accept your request lah. So basically rejecting the application for the loan. Okay, F. Okay, thanks Husna. F. There's a lot of money making scheme, although actually there's a lot of scam now. But money making scheme is you can get rich. You can be a millionaire in a week's time, let's say. If you do this, you're going to be a millionaire. Itulah money making scheme, which is usually a fraud lah. Nobody does. Nobody makes money in such a short time. It takes a long time. When imagine someone, a friend approach you and say, hey, I have this incredible financial plan that I want you to know. And then dia cerita. So the bottom line is, if you invest in this, you're going to make millions of dollars, let's say. And then you say, get real. What does that mean? What does get real means?
Doctor?
Yeah. Very soft.
Hello?
Taring lah. Kena kuat sikit.
Hello?
Hi. Yes.
Okay.
You are?
Eunice.
Oh, Eunice. Okay.
For the direct act would be a statement, and the indirect can be telling the friend to to be realistic.
To be realistic. In a way, refusing, isn't it? So it's like a refusal also.
Okay.
Mm.
Or requesting? To request
No. No. Get real means
To think
I don't
twice.
believe you. No, get real means I don't believe you. That's not. It's in the way you're saying that it's not realistic. Okay juga, it's not realistic, but it's not realistic is the meaning of the statement. But the speech, the indirect act would be to refuse lah. To refuse to believe, to refuse to invest. Because this friend, when he's talking to you about money making scheme, he wants you to put your money inside. He wants you to, how do you say?
Join him.
Put your money into the scheme lah. And you say get real means no way man, no way. Refusal lah. Okay. I would accept to be realistic tu okay juga, tapi sebenarnya in the end it means refusal lah. Refusal is quite dominant. Okay, last one. G. Who wants to do G? Doorman at a nightclub to aspiring entrant. Usually, a nightclub would have a big man. They call him a bouncer. A big man, tall. How do you say big? Built up. He is very big lah, big size. And his work is actually to in or means I'm not sure over here in Malaysia, but everywhere else, if you look kind of young, they will request for your ID, cakap pengenalan macam tu lah. So, and sometimes there are very young people, high school students, or I don't think primary will do it lah, high school students lah, who's underage, who will attempt to get into the nightclub. Okay, so the aspiring entrant could be someone who is underage lah. So when you're underage, you cannot go into a nightclub. Okay, so the doorman is supposed to make sure that among others, he doesn't let in an underage person. Depending lah, Malaysia underage berapa tahun? 18 ke bawah. Macam tu. So okay, so now this big muscle and then he tells this person who wants to come in, don't make me laugh. What does it mean? So it can only mean what?
Doctor, is it like a rejection kind?
Obviously, yes, rejection.
But is it also like imperative?
Why would he say this?
It's like it's also in a manner of sarcasm, something like that. Don't make me laugh, don't joke around because you're young, you can't come in. Like that.
Because the aspiring entrant, maybe an underage guy trying to pretend like he is an adult. Basically, yeah. So then the doorman just said, "Don't make me laugh." So is that what you say just now? That one?
I said rejection.
Rejection for entry.
Yeah.
Could also be a threat, huh?
Oh yes, yeah.
This could also be a threat because telling the other guy, aspiring entrant, don't make me laugh because I might do something nasty after that.
Yeah.
Like,
Can it be imperative as well, doctor?
but dia ada
Like
negation there.
it's an order also, like because that doorman is probably that higher, you know, like in terms of like the I don't know how to say it, because that doorman is responsible for keeping, like for securing the door area, and that person is like not really of high authority ka, because so that person, the doorman is saying don't make me laugh, go, like it's an order kind of way, but it's also imperative.
But that reading is not prominent, but it could be there. So making, what was it? Is it a threat?
It's you mentioned just now a threat.
And you're saying?
I was wondering if it could also be imperative, like ordering,
Oh,
like
imperative.
don't make me laugh, like on a serious note lah.
Imperative ni, it doesn't come across as imperative.
Okay, thank you.
It's more remote in that sense. Don't step on it. Don't make me laugh. Okay lah juga. Okay, the instance is it could be a remote. Sorry, it could be an imperative, but very remotely. You have to explain the answer. Like it's just like you say, don't make me laugh. It's the same as don't go, don't eat, don't
Or
talk.
like don't step on the grass, something like that.
Don't step on the grass. So that's imperative lah. Boleh?
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, bye. All right. So these are the aspects of language that is in pragmatics. Pragmatics, as we know, it is actually the use of meaning in everyday life. Use of meaning in everyday life. So we were talking about and it has a function in real life situation. Okay, this one we are saying, and then the second part that we were talking just now is that when we say something, it has a direct and indirect. And usually the indirect is more important than the direct. Yeah? So a proficient speaker would be able to distinguish that lah. For example, I remember we're doing the testing for MPLAT. It was a 4-year-old boy. Usually 4-year-olds, they don't understand yet. So the tester asked him, he's supposed to repeat. This is a sentence repetition task, and he's supposed to repeat the sentence. So the tester said, why a question lah kot. So he's supposed to repeat the question, right? But he answered the question. So the task is when you listen. So and all other sentences is okay lah. And then come to the question. Can't remember what's the question, but it was a question, and then he was supposed to repeat the question, but he answered the question. So for very young children, they don't understand. They don't distinguish yet between direct and indirect. But for adults, for older children like 5 years old, 6 years old, they are able to repeat the question, no problem. So it kind of is like a developmental ability also lah. Yeah, so from the sentence repetition task of the 500 odd children that we tested, we found that for sentence repetition task, the 4-year-old would tend to drop when they repeat the sentence. They drop all the. They give you the main meaning, or almost the main meaning lah. But all the other words, they drop. But the 5 will give you more. But 5-year-old will give you more. So that it is I was going to tell you that the ability to see the direct and indirect is not there yet when the child is 4 years old. Okay, so aspects of language and pragmatics. Deixis. Deixis is pointing to something. So in verbal communication, deixis refers to the contextual meaning of pronouns when you say he or she or it. And in its broad sense, what the speaker means by a particular utterance in a given context. Sometimes you imagine that when you say that, when you use deixis, you actually say itu ini. So you're actually pointing your finger to something, or just making just like indicating the direction with your face. The lips or your nose, pointing to that direction. So it's yeah. So in a broad sense, what the speaker means by a particular utterance, you're trying to be very specific. You're pointing to something for a particular utterance in a given context, and usually something that you can point at. Yeah. So when people say which book, that book on the table, and your face is reflected to the table. How do you say not reflected, but you are turning, you're turning your body and your face to the table, and then you're indicating through your mouth or your the look that you have on your face. Okay, and then so that is very oral language lah when you're speaking. So that is very basic actually. Okay, number 2 is presupposition. As we've done this presupposition, referring to the logical meaning of a sentence or meaning logically associated with or entailed by a sentence. So this is also another ability that we take for granted sebenarnya. But actually, a lot of people who have problems with language might not be able to do this, presuppose. They might not be able to get the presupposition that other people are making, okay? So sometimes people with deficits in language, they tend to be very literal. They take things at face value. When you say something, they take it at face value. Probably due to the inability to so when you're speaking, it's very complex. When you're speaking, you're maneuvering your sentences, pronouncing it, and then accommodating it within the situation that you're talking, presupposing things, so, and it's amazing that we do this effortlessly. Yeah, we can actually do this at the same time. It sounds very complex, but we can do this. But imagine a person with language impairment. That is one of their difficulties, is that they are not able to presuppose, not understanding, not even having to able to do it. Performative implying that by each utterance, a speaker not only says something but also does something, like we said just now, speech act again. So we are also giving information, stating a fact, hinting an attitude. So when we say something, we are of course conveying what we're saying, but we are also doing performing an act. And then implicature. Implicature is referring to an indirect or implicit meaning of an utterance. Yeah. So we know that what we say minus, how do you say? What we say minus the background knowledge, and then we get the implicature. So it's not immediately present in the use of the language, but it is implied. It is implied. All right. So pragmaticians, people who study pragmatics, are very keen on exploring why interlocutors are people who interact, the speaker and the hearer, they call it interlocutors, can successfully converse with one another in a conversation. A basic idea is that interlocutors obey certain principles in their conversation. One such principle is the cooperative principle. We have learned this, which assumes that interactants cooperate in the conversation by contributing to the ongoing speech event. Another assumption that we take, and we saw that we can actually flout this cooperative principle. We can obey, and when we obey, we are being kind. We obey, we're being kind. We are we think good of everyone. But when we flout the principle, it doesn't mean that we don't know. Actually, we know. We consciously flout the principle because we want to achieve a certain effect. So that's the games that we play with language. So we do this. Another assumption is that politeness principle by Leach, 1983. People respect each other's face. Face ni maksudnya air muka. I think in English it's just face, each other's face. So nanti I kena ni pula. But actually it's just air muka lah. So kita bersangka baik dan kita tak nak jatuhkan air muka orang lain. That's it. Kita nak jatuh air muka orang lain. So bila kita bercakap tu, kita cuba menghormati orang, kita cuba tidak berkata sesuatu yang akan menyebabkan yang kasar. So recently we had this video being viral of this CEO of this company. He was at a meeting and he was actually reprimanding his subordinates. He said like a very official meeting. Tapi video tu tunjuk di group and I said, the bane of smartphone. The bane ni maksudnya the disadvantage of having smartphones. So nowadays, you want to say something, you better be careful because there's always someone recording. So this particular CEO of a very big company, of a very big religiously linked company, okay, he was just cursing. He was just like the F word, like you can count how many F word in his utterances, and then he was spicing it out with Malay curse words pula. So you can imagine. I know he's angry. Someone was saying actually, he is angry because his subordinates, appointed consultants, subordinate pun managers, he's the CEO, right? So his managers either appointed a very inefficient consultant, actually then turn and ask the institution to do something. So he was saying, they don't have the right to tell me what to do, So he was reprimanding his staff, managers, for sloppiness in doing their job, for letting the contractors either swindle them or didn't do the job properly. So he was right in that he reprimanded. He is the boss and he reprimanded the managers under him. But what was not right about it is that he didn't adhere, he didn't observe to the politeness principle. Because he was talking to his senior managers in his organization, and these are very probably senior people, senior in terms of age and also experience. So, but he was actually cursing at them. He was saying the F word, and he was saying all the Malay curse word, and I'm like, the boss, being the CEO, chief executive officer of of any company, of any organization, how you interact with your staff and how you interact with people actually defines you. Betul tak? Dia macam if you are full of this F word, and F word are very negative words, it reflects on your person, it reflects on your thinking, your mind, how you look at things. You're a negative person, very negative, very angry person, you know. So I actually felt pity on him. And I read somewhere in Twitter that the Minister of Agama Islam, Dr. Zulkifli, he was saying, I think it was him, he said that negative words come from negative people. Yeah? So he is the victim of, how do you say? The victim of viral, the smartphone. So one of his officer or manager actually tape him, video record him, and then send it off to all over Malaysia. So I can presume that the next thing that will come out in the paper is that this person is fired from his job because he's not behaving like he should as a boss and as a boss to this religious link institution. Yeah? So we need to behave politely to one another and respect each other. Some people think that if you're the boss, you can push people around. So maybe this particular example that I gave you, he thinks that he's the boss and he can push people around. He can put them down. He can make them lose their face. Kalau Malaysian English we say water face lah kan. Jatuhkan air muka orang lain. Jadi as a boss you cannot do that. As a boss, to me as a boss, if in a meeting like that, particular people, I will call them up. I will have them sit in front of me. We talk a bit, and then there's a way of negotiation about how we're going to approach the subject, and I'll never do that. And I know how it feels because one instance, in my 59 years of service, I can remember a few instances that someone actually made me lose my water face, okay? Put me down in front of a meeting. And of course, I defended myself. And then the second thing was I actually sent an email to the person and say, I would appreciate it very much if you would next time call me and talk to me about what you think is not satisfactory on your part of what I had done. And never put down any people. When I go to the office, I see the cleaner. Simple social talk lah. I don't look at them as they're so down there, they're cleaning toilet, no lah. Because everybody is their own person, everybody has their own value. They contribute to the organization. So I believe in 360 degrees leadership. That means you can be at the top. Obviously, we assume that the leaders are leaders. They are at the top. But actually, they are also leaders at every step of the way, at every position in the organization. You are your own leader. So for example, I don't hold any administrative position right now, but I have people who I'm leading. So I have this research project. I have people in the research project who I lead. We discuss things, but we eventually agree on something. So I lead the project. So if you're a cleaner, you might be a leader among the cleaners, or you is a leader. So you must behave politely to one another. Doesn't mean that you're educated, you can treat people differently, or you have a lot of money. A lot of money, people think they can treat people just simply like that, but no. We must be polite to one another lah. Okay, and then the third one is a cognitive explanation to social interactive speech events, provided by Sperber and Wilson, who hold that in verbal communication, people try to be relevant to what they intend to say and to whom an utterance is intended. This Sperber and Wilson, they came up with relevance theory. So the relevance theory, I'm not very, I don't really know very well about relevance theory, but I've heard about it, and I presume it's, in essence, they're saying in verbal communication, people try to be relevant to what they intend to say. Relevance theory. So there's a whole lot of things that comes into play in order to be relevant for what you want to say and to whom you want to address it to. It's a whole theory, so it must be quite comprehensive in that sense. In terms of the, so we have, the pragmatic principles people abide by one another, pragmatic principles people abide by in one language are often different in another language. So it is also culturally bound. What is respectful in one language, one culture, does not mean it applies for the other culture. So we have to, when we meet people from different cultures, we have to observe how they do things, how they speak, and try to get to know them. And then, and as you are learning, you are getting at what is the pragmatic way. All right. Thus, there has been a growing interest in how people in different languages observe a certain pragmatic principle. A lot of studies which look at cross-linguistic or cross-cultural effect on things. Cross-linguistic and cross-cultural studies reported what is considered polite in one language is sometimes not polite in another. Can you think of something? What is polite in one language and not polite with another language? Like getting a gift from someone. Getting a gift from someone. We tend to feel shy. I don't know, I do. I tend to feel shy when I get gifts. And the quicker I get the gift, and almost immediately I want to put it in the bag, when someone gives me a present, and I immediately want to either put it on the table or put it where I don't see it, and that is to me very respectful, because I don't know about you, but I feel that I don't know why I feel very shy to open it. I don't want to come across as over enthusiastic about the gift, But when I interact with people, other people from different cultures, especially in the West, people in the West, they give you a gift, and they are very interested to know how you feel about the gift. And be happy with the gift, but actually immediately opening it and looking at what the gift is, so when you actually get the gift and you put it away, you are actually causing like an eyebrow, or like a puzzled look on that person's face. So after a while, I actually ask. So now I'll say, do you think I should open it? Just for my own conscience and for the person's conscience, maybe, I don't know, more of mine. And then the person say, yes, of course, go ahead. And then I open it, But I still do it, like even if it's like students bagi ke or just some other people, I'll just put it away. But when I am with someone from a different culture, I would actually say ask, or I would actually ask, do you think I should open it? What is polite and what is not polite? I think universally, what is polite is to ask about your health. That's polite, shows that you care. What is not polite is asking someone's their age. Asking someone about their age, especially if that someone is female. Women are very sensitive when people ask about the age. So don't ask. Another thing is, don't ask about someone if someone is married or not. You know, to me that is very intrusive. You when you first meet someone, you don't ask that person. You just observe, and then you let that person tell you. So so when someone say, "Are you married?" I'm like, oh, why ask me that? That's very impolite. Huh? So usually we so if someone asks you a personal question when you first meet him or her, I would actually be concerned about that person. Not culturally sensitive lah. I was sometimes when I'm tired doing work, I actually watch Astro, and then there's this program, TLC. The channel is TLC, and there's a program on this channel. They're talking about people who get to know each other through the internet. And then after they get to know each other for maybe years or months, they actually arrange to meet in person. So somehow this episode that I was looking at, this lady was meeting up with her friend or maybe boyfriend, but they have a problem because this lady saw someone showed her a picture, close proximity kind of thing. So then they met to actually sort it out lah sebenarnya, but actually the man was trying to. They interviewed the man before the meeting, and the man was saying, I still feel for her, and maybe we can work it out. We'll see, But the lady came very angry because of the picture, and the man didn't tell her about the other woman. And somehow they started the conversation at a cafe very badly lah. And then because the lady evidently told him that she will have nothing to do with him if he's seeing another woman, And then he said something like, I think you've put on weight. The man told the lady that he thinks that she has put on weight. And you can see that is, So of course she got very angry, Immediately she says, you're weak, you're wicked, you're bad or something. Waiter, can I have the bill, please? I'm paying for my coffee and his coffee, So trying to get him back. So telling someone the person has put on weight is also not polite. So there are many things that are not polite. And how do you know? You know by learning, experiencing it. But sometimes there are pragmaticians or sociolinguists who actually goes around doing these studies and reporting on what is polite in one culture and what is not polite in the other culture. So get a hold of one study and read and see how interesting it is. Okay, then contrastive pragmatics, however, it's not confined to the study of certain pragmatic principles. They sometimes look at culture. So examples of cross-cultural pragmatics. Basically, they are all cross-cultural pragmatics lah, cultural breakdowns and pragmatic failure. So we try to be intelligent social beings lah. When we meet someone from a different culture, we observe. Take your time, observe. Don't be so quick to do things. Observe, understand how they speak, how they do things. Pragmatic failure means you're dealing with someone in the same culture, same people, and not adhering to the pragmatics of the society. And then there'll be a communication breakdown if the pragmatic failure happens. For example, a simple example, if you want to go into someone's room or office, you knock first, right? Some people, they don't knock. They just open the door. If you're alone, still you feel like, hey, why you knock on the door? Like not very pragmatic, not polite. Okay. Another focus of research in pragmatics is learner language, or we call them interlanguage. So interlanguage pragmatics is a branch of pragmatics which specifically discuss how non-native speakers comprehend and produce a speech act in a target language, and how their pragmatic competence develops through time. This is basically a simple, the simple explanation to this is that when we are learning a language, at any stage of the learning, we will have an interlanguage. We will have the state of the language that we have learned or we are learning. So it refers to any learner of language lah. So we can actually take a language. What are the things that constitute the interlanguage of this child through the grammar, let's say. You as speech therapist, soon you'll be able to look at interlanguage. You look at some child's ability to achieve a good language, let's say, or near good language. Yeah? So their existing language is their interlanguage. So any aspect, if they are just a little bit verbal, that is their interlanguage. You are training them, stimulating them to be more verbal, let's say. Yeah? So any stage of any learning, we call it interlanguage lah. So this interlanguage pragmatic discuss how non-native speakers comprehend and produce speech in the target language, and how their pragmatic competence. As I said to you just now, when you're learning the language, you're also learning the pragmatics of the language. So pragmatics of the language is called to date, a handful of cross-sectional, longitudinal, and theoretical studies on classroom basis have been conducted. So they look at students in classrooms, and see what they do, how they do things, what kind of things they say. So they do that. Maybe looking at how people study, maybe how people learn something in class. What strategies they use. So cross-cultural, so it means studies have been done looking at how people study a foreign language, let's say. What are the stages that they go through, okay? Okay, so topics of immediate interest to which language teachers at large may contribute seem just numerous. What are some of the pragmatic Pragmatic universes means what are the pragmatic things that we learn irregardless of language. But so we want to look at what happens in second language. What influences language one? What influences does language one exerts on the learner's language two acquisition? Yeah? So we want to know what is the influence of their previous knowledge of language in their learning of the language too. And this happens, errors that the students do when they're learning English, for example. So problem is, for example, Malay, they don't have past tense. Okay. You put an ed there, when you want to do past tense. But in Malay, we don't, kan? We don't inflect the verb. So when Malay learners learn English, they'll have problems with past tense. So they don't inflect the tense. So they say, they use it like a present tense form of the verb in place of the past tense. So past tense, tenses are very difficult things for second language learners of English. Okay. In terms of this, L1 exists on learners L2. In terms of when you have your client, your patient in your clinic, they are multilingual, right? So they have L1 or maybe L2, maybe they have 2 languages or even 3 languages. Let's say Chinese, you might have a few languages, 3 or 4 languages. You need to be aware of this influence of L1 onto L2, let's say. Some aspects of L1 will help in the learning. Some aspects of L1 will actually first be a barrier to the language 2 learning. So these are things you should know, because when we are testing bilingual kids, testing Chinese children with sentence repetition task, let's say. The sentence repetition task is basically we say the sentence, they hear the sentence and they repeat the sentence. This is a very powerful tool to test children with language impairment. So when you're doing this, testing the child, and he's bilingual, so you must be aware of the fact that he's bilingual. So what are the languages that he knows? For example, a Chinese child, he will have the Chinese dialect, he will have the Mandarin, let's say. He will also that a Chinese learner will have in your clinic. So you want to be thinking about this factor. Is it because he cannot pick up this language because of his background? So you must think about language background. How shall we measure the learner's pragmatic performance with a native pragmatic performance? Pragmatic norm. Pragmatic means able to use the knowledge of meaning into actual use in the situation every day, kan? So you want to look at what is it that the learner has in order to conform to the native pragmatic form of the target language, kan? So sometimes you need to, because when you learn a language, it's not really just learning the phrases, but learning when to use what, isn't it? Jadi in learning a language, you also need to learn the pragmatics. Something else. So the learner has to know that. So you need to know the difficulty that your child, your multilingual child is facing. Is it because of bilingualism? Is it because of the other influence of the other languages? Or is it because of the impairment? Now that is a very important central assumption that you need to understand when we are dealing with multilingual children. Is it because he's learning? So sometimes I used to be a volunteer with screening children. They used to have a Linus program in primary schools, and we would volunteer to screen students in literacy. They will have a 1 day or 2 day one center kind of thing screening, where there'll be the psychologist, there'll be audiologists, the speech therapists, the linguists, occupational. So I actually helped with the literacy. Yeah? So we had a reading test, and the kid couldn't read at all. This is a Chinese kid, couldn't read at all. So then I asked the mom. I said, mak dia ada. Kalau mak dia tak ada, cikgu. So I asked the mom. I said, okay, puan, kalau dalam bahasa Cina dia boleh baca tak? And then because the test is in Malay, right? So the mak dia kata kalau bahasa Cina boleh lah, tak lancar tapi boleh baca. Tapi bahasa Melayu langsung tak boleh. So actually, in my mind, my professional, I didn't tell the mom, but I told the people doing the test. I kata sebenarnya it's not bila kita nak kaji impairment, if the child is impaired, the child will be impaired in all languages. That his grouping of languages lah. So kalau the Chinese child is impaired in Mandarin, in Chinese, and then it's impairment, okay? But if the child is impaired in Malay, and then you ask the mother, is he having problems in Chinese? Not really. Ada problem sikit lah, tapi boleh lah cakap, boleh baca. And then what about this language, English? Not as good as Chinese, but can also. So to me, the issue there is not language impairment. He's actually not, Malay is not his language. I think he's least exposed to Malay. He rarely reads in Malay. His own home environment doesn't have Malay in his grouping of language. So he's actually a second language problem, not really. Yeah? So sometimes I actually tell sometimes if we're testing, might as well have the test material in Chinese for Chinese kids. But I think for Tamil is not, unless they go to school in Tamil. But I think for the Indians, we know that we can test them in English or Malay. For Chinese, there might be a problem. So itulah. Dari segi itulah macam these are the issues that we face when we are dealing with multilingual, and we're all multilinguals, right? No, it's really difficult to find monolingual. Monolingual is one language. We only know one language. But in our instance, we are multilingual. So I'm going to start here. But I think I'm going to stop here because this is another factor. Any questions that you want to ask about what we have talked before this? Any soalan? Okay, so I think you're tired because you started at 9. So it's nearly 1. You want to start reading in your textbook, Pragmatics. Trying to find where is my Microsoft Teams. Oh no, look. I just close it. Okay. Maybe I kecilkan. Besar balik. I'll try to find. Okay, I'm seeing now. All right. Okay. Let's all right, so the next time. Any question? After this, you can start discussing in your groups about your assignment.
Yes, doctor.
All right, someone is. Did anyone write on the chat? Tak ada. So okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Thank you so much for your time and your attention.
Thank
Okay,
you.
have a good lunch.
Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
You're welcome.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you,
You're
doctor.
welcome. Hmm. So I stop recording. Okay, I stop recording, then I can leave. Oh, sorry.